I realized I was on mute. Sorry. I was saying I'm so tired, but I'm here, and I know it's for like this 1 hour, and I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. Here we are. It's so lovely to see you.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Miss
Which country
Sally.
are you in right now? You jet
I'm,
setter.
I'm here in the UK.
Okay. I never know. Every time it's a different pose, you're like, oh, she's here. Oh, she's there. Oh,
Uh,
do you remember Josephine? Well, I have another one now. And
that's amazing.
voila. And then I'll have another one.
Okay. Let's
So we're starting at 8:05.
we're starting now.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to share my screen so I can pull up my slides so we can get started quite quickly. I'm not going to say too much by way of intro so that we can just get cracking with the main event of the evening, and that's Uncle Eman, because he says that when he's on Instagram. But yeah, welcome, and I really do thank you for joining on time. I thought to give grace because we had over 120 people register for this webinar, but obviously, yes, we'll have them trip through as we go along. So this is a Vibrant Midlife Financial Wellbeing Masterclass. I will just share not a lot about me because I guess you guys all caught all of this within our sign up. That's why I put the bio here. But one thing I will say as I talk about this, as I capture this bio, is the last sentence. My passion is for women to live healthy, to live happy, to live well, especially women in midlife, over the 40, moving into their late careers, etc. So that they are healthy, they're well, and they have the vitality and the viz and vim to fulfill God's purpose for their lives. As we progress in life, we have the menopause transition. Just as a result of getting older, we have all sorts of ailments come through. But our portion is that we will live healthy, we will live well, because we'll get the right information on board to do that. And one of the key pillars of that wards off stress, that helps us to live a good life, is money. So we mustn't shy away from talking about money and talking about our money story and getting that straight at this phase of life. It may not necessarily be so for everybody, but I know that even if that's not the case just now, there are things we can do to make that happen. And so that's why I'm bringing to the fore this masterclass. I speak to a lot of women. I know that there are women like me that might not necessarily have their money story straight at the moment. There are women that think, okay, yeah, I've got it straight, but we can always learn new tricks. We can always learn new ways to, be financially secure, be financially stable. And that's why I've asked Eman to speak with us. He is someone, he will share his, pedigree, renowned. I've watched and I just think, okay, yeah, this is the person I want to bring into the community. So, Zoom move. So our vision, that women over 40 become aware of the menopause transition. They know what's going on with their bodies, and they find the best ways to look after themselves so that they thrive and they're in optimal health and well-being at this phase of life. We help women live a vibrant midlife and live happy, healthy, and well. We do this via a range of things. We run awareness sessions, we run workshops, we do training to organizations, we coach, and we consult with larger organizations as well. That's me done. And so, without further ado, I'll just introduce Eman. I'll ask him, Eman, are you on camera? Are you?
I'm here.
Fantastic. You're there. And so that's Eman's bio. He's prolific is what I would say. He's on all the channels, the BBCs, the Channel 4s, he's everywhere. You know, he's called upon, he's someone that's called upon to come and speak about financial matters, you know, and he gives insightful advice. Um, that's what he says. He's founded the Eman Effect to provide his clients knowledge so that they can tackle not only the money aspect of finance, but also the well-being aspect, that, you know, and that mindset, those mindset things that leads to us having a poor financial situation. um so yeah, Eman, take it away, it's your stage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, everyone, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Obviously, it's an evening. Everyone's had a long day at work, and you've come. So, thank you, Bookie, for really putting this on. I want to say none of this happens without the amazing Bookie. She has been amazing in this, absolutely wonderful. Her energy, her enthusiasm to make sure that this session happens for people. As I said before, you know, this I don't really talk for free normally, so I don't tend to do too many free events. But you know, Bookie was so adamant that she didn't want people to not be able to get access to this information due to costs, that she took the burden on herself to make sure that, you know, this could happen. And so I just want to really, you know, thank God for Bookie's life, and thank Bookie for, you know, really taking the onus on making sure that others got it, because me and Bookie actually had a one-to-one. So a lot of the stuff that, you know, we'll hear today and talk about today, we have already discussed. So it's not even that she did it so she could get this information. This is really about her saying, you know what, this one-to-one was really vital. I think my community could use this. Come and tell this information to the community. So please, you know, afterwards do help me thank Bookie, because this wouldn't be happening without her. In regards to myself, I'm a financial advisor. I have been for over 15 years. You know, started off in Barclays, but got tired of just helping rich people get richer, and decided to go out, leave the banks, and set up myself. So I have the Eman Effect, which is a financial educational company which allows people to learn about finance and money, even in situations where they might not have it. And then we have Belvedere, which is a regulated financial advice company. I think it's really important for me that, and for us at Belvedere, to make sure that people can get access to financial advice. It tends to be in the UK that, you know, you need to have 50 to 100,000 before you can get a financial advisor. And I know that, you know, the communities that I grew up in, that is a lot of money. And so for me, it was really important to set up companies that allow people to get access even before they have money. You know, because money actually wealth starts in your mind. And then I think we're gonna probably touch on that quite a lot today. Is that the wealth, the lifestyle, the things that you want, the lifestyle that you want starts in your mind. It starts you have to think it, you have to believe it, you have to walk in it, and then your actions will make it come to pass. And you know, there's proof of that. We've seen loads of people become very, very wealthy and lose millions and millions of pounds wasted, because they don't have the wealth mindset. And so it's really important that we discuss that and understand that. But you know, these sessions are vital. But you know what, there's so much stuff that we could talk about today. You know, we've only got a little while, and I know we're going to do a Q&A and so forth. But I just thought, maybe in the chat, is there any particular topics that any of you, you know, really feel like is burning? Like, you know, you really, really, really want to know about, really want us to discuss, because I want to make sure that this time that you're giving up is as useful to you as possible. So please feel free to, you know, comment in the chat, just write any topics that you feel are really important to you, and I'll make sure that we cover them. And then, like I said, we'll then do a Q&A later where we'll answer your questions direct. But if there's any topics, you know, that you really feel like, you know, you really want to know more about, then please do let me know, and we'll discuss that today. I think for
Yeah.
me, so go ahead.
No, I'm catching pensions. I don't have savings or pensions. I'm concerned
Yeah,
about pensions. 50 years old. So yeah,
yeah,
pensions is coming up. Retirement planning strategy. So maybe let's do pensions and savings.
yeah.
and then I'll talk you to, I'll share the next topic that's come through as
All
well.
right, perfect. Thank you for participating and doing that. So let's start with pensions. So I think and me and Bookie had this conversation as well, is that I think for some of us, when we think retirement, we think pension. And actually, I think for most of us, pensions isn't actually going to be your main source when it comes to retirement. I think for a lot, if I ask a lot of people, what age do you want to retire? I think a lot of people would say somewhere in their 50s or 60s, for example. But you know, right now your personal pension is what, 57, 55 right now, but going up to 57. And you know, the state pension is 65 going to 66, 67 as well, and going up higher. And so what when it comes to pensions are a very tax efficient way for you to save for your retirement. So let's break it down. How does a personal pension work? So there's two types of pension. We have a personal pension, which is either a pension you set up for yourself or a pension that your company sets up for you. Those are personal pensions. So if you go to work and there's a company pension scheme, that is your personal pension that your company has just set up for you. Because when you leave that company, your pension pot leaves with you. It becomes yours. It's directly under you. It leaves that workplace and becomes directly owned by you. So all your workplace pension is a pension that your employer has set up for you. Okay, so that's really important for you to understand. So that's personal pension. So either you set it up yourself or the one that your work sets up for you. Those are considered personal pensions. And with those, you can get them from age 55 right now, but it's going up to age 57. Okay, you can get access to those. Now, the way that those work is that you put money in, and if you're employed, your employer will also put money in, and the government will also give you the tax back. Okay, so for example, you might put in 5%. The government, your work might match that and give you 5% as well. And then you get 20% from the government, so 2%. So altogether, 12% could be going into your pension each month. 12% of your income of your salary could be going into pension, but you've actually only contributed 5%. So that's why pensions are such a great investment. There's not many investments that, even if you do the personal pension by yourself, you get the 20% from the government on top. There are not many investments that you can guarantee that when you put money in, it's going to go up by 20%. Okay? So pensions are really tax efficient. And so this is why we are encouraged to use them. Now, the way they work is that when you get to the retirement age and you're able to retire, you can take out 25% of whatever that pot is tax-free. Yeah? So you can get a tax-free lump sum of up to 25% of that pot. So if your pension pot, for simple maths, is 100K, if you have a pension pot of 100,000, you can get up to £25,000 out of that tax-free. Okay? After you take that 25% tax-free, anything else you take out of that pension is considered income. And so is added to whatever income you've got, and potentially, therefore, can be subject to tax. Is that clear? Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody not understand what I just said? Feel free, we're here. Okay, I think everyone got it. Okay, perfect. So if, for example, again, let's use the 100. You see, I love it when people ask this. So people ask, so someone said, is it taxed twice then? No. So with your pension, one of the reasons why it's so tax efficient is that when your money goes into pension, it's not taxed. Okay? It's either taken from your employer before you pay tax, or if your employer takes tax from it, the government put 20% back in anyway. So you haven't been taxed on the way in when it comes to pension. If you earn over 50,000 and you pay 40% tax, you can even do a tax return. And on that tax return, you can claim an additional 20%. And if you're an additional rate taxpayer that pays 45%, you can claim an additional 25%. A lot of people miss out on that. There are a lot of people who only get the 20% and they don't claim. If you earn over, if you're a higher rate taxpayer or an additional, which means you earn, they've increased it 50 something thousand, then you pay 40% tax, you can claim an additional 20%. If you earn over 150,000, you can claim and you pay 45% tax, you can claim an additional 25%. Only 20% is given to you at source. The rest you need to fill out a tax return to claim. And a lot of people are not claiming it. Okay. So that's why you're not taxed twice. You don't pay tax on the way in. You get 25% tax free, and then on the remaining 75%, potentially you're taxed. Now, the reason I say potentially is that it depends on your income. Okay. Because we all have a tax-free allowance. Right now it's 12,500. Yeah. So the first 12,500 that you make, you don't pay any tax. So if you have no other income than your pension, you could take out £1,000 a month out of your pension and you wouldn't pay any tax because it'll be covered under your annual personal allowance. Okay. It's only if you go over that, then you start to pay 20% and so forth. So this is another reason why we tell people not to take big lump sums other than the 25% tax-free. Because if, for example, you had that 100K and you say, you know what, I've had enough, I want to take 50,000 out lump sum, you could do that, but that 50,000 would be treated as income. And so you'd be taxed as if you earned 50,000 that year. And so you'd lose a lot of that money to tax. So this is why it's important to have a financial advisor when you get to pension age and you want to start withdrawing, because a financial advisor will be able to guide you and assist you in making sure that you take that, how you take out that money out of pension, you take it out in the most tax efficient way possible. Okay.
All right, I think I want to move on, Eman, to a couple of other questions. This one will lead to the other. Aspects around, we've talked about that's for the person that has a pension. What about if someone's at this stage, they don't have a pension? Mm-hmm. What would you say to that person? And also, I've had a few questions around other forms of income and, revenue streams. What can people be thinking about looking to, that kind of thing?
Okay, so in regards to if you're at this age and you have no pension, and let's say we're saying this is for over 40. So if you're in your 40s and you haven't got a pension, it's still not too late to start because you still got a good potentially 20 years, 25 years until you may plan to retire.
50s.
And if you're in your 50s, 15 years, I would say it's still okay, but you're not going to get much back from it. So it all depends on what your plans are and you as a person. So for example, for me, with my clients that are a bit older, I tend to tell them, rather than focusing on pension, we should look at property if you are trying to generate income. The reason I say that is that for the money it will take you to put into pension to get that income, you can put a lot less in to property and start to generate income much quicker, much sooner, and much more flexible because you're in more control of how you take it out, because you can take it out as dividends if you do it through a company, for example. So you don't have to take it all out as income. So for me, it depends on how close you are to your planned retirement. If you say you want to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, I wouldn't say a pension is a 5 to 10 year investment. Really, to get the best benefit out of a pension, so you want to have a longer term. Now, also what you have to think about when it comes to pension is that if you're a high earner though, and you might be in your 50s earning a lot of money, you lose a lot of tax benefits when you've got a high income. So you might want to use pensions because it can help you reduce your tax burden. So again, it all depends on people's situation. I never say there's only one way to do something. It's very much down to your situation. But for most people, I would say you probably want to be looking at either, if you want to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, you probably want to put more energy into starting a business or property than you would want to put into a pension. I'm not saying a pension is not useful. It is useful, but the amount that you would need to be putting in on a monthly basis for it to be worth anything significant in 5 to 10 years time, you could probably put that amount in and buy 2 or 3 properties that will probably give you a much higher income. Okay, so that's just that to think about. Go ahead.
Okay. I have a question here. So at this phase, what percentage of income should people be putting aside for old age? I think that's a nice general question that people's, kind of a ratio that people need to be thinking about.
We always say that the key ratio is 12%. Now, if you are in your 20s or 30s, 12% is fine. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you're going to have to put in a lot more. Yeah. So because the reason pensions are so great is what we call compound interest. Yeah. So basically you start investing it from young, and the interest on top of interest builds up over that long period of time, and you see the benefit. To get the same benefit, we used to do numbers. So if somebody in their 20s put in £100 a month, to get the same pension, somebody in their 50s would need to be putting in like 1,200 to get the same pension. Just because the number of years that the person in their 20s has means that it grows and compounds over that time. And the person in their 50s has much less. So although we say 12% is the kind of optimum amount, again, your age will play a part. I would say if you're in your 40s, you're probably looking at 15-20% that you probably want to be looking at putting in. If you're in your 50s, I'd say a lot of my clients are in their 50s. Again, now in your 50s, maybe you've had kids, you've paid off your mortgage, you're in a senior position. So it depends where you are at in your 50s, because some people in their 50s have, the kids are at the house, they've paid off their mortgage, their costs are low, they're in a senior management position, they can afford to put 25% of their income into pension to make up the difference.
Fantastic.
But other people are not in that position, so that it's still down to what you can afford. You have to look at your own budget and what's affordable to you.
Cool. Okay, so I've got this question here. I have a council house, but want to buy a home. Not sure if it's worth buying a home. And I'm taking that this is a mature person thinking, okay, what's a good plan? What's a good move for me?
For me, buying a property is very, very, very important. Yeah, we live in a country. We just finished talking about pensions. In Europe, they don't really tend to buy property. Why? Because their state pensions and the pensions that are provided tend to be enough so that you can afford to still rent, and their rent is paid for and covered by the state. That is not the case here in the UK. In retirement, if you do not own your property, you will still have to pay rent. And we are seeing rents go up and up and up. So it's really important for you to reduce that burden for yourself by making sure that at least by the time you come to retirement, you don't have to worry about rent, because we're all going to need somewhere to live in retirement. Also, what I would say is that if it's a council place, there's the right to buy. So as long as you've lived there, you've got the option to right to buy. For me, I feel like we haven't taken the opportunity of right to buy as much as other communities have. How often is somebody giving you over 100K discount on a property? And so it's something that for a lot of us, we've got to take advantage of. Now, one of the issues is that, especially if you're older, you're going to struggle to get the mortgage and so forth. So this is where if you've got children, you can get your children on there and then help your children get on the ladder. Because children are, some people are talking about, I'm going to lose my first-time buyers. A lot of the time, these kids, you're not even going to get on the property ladder. Forget first-time buyers. Some of us are trying to get 100% of nothing. You're better off building with your children. If they've lived in that house, they'll have right to be on the deeds. Get your children on there and use their youth. Because they're younger, they can have a longer mortgage, and obviously their income, if they're starting to work, put that all together and get access. After 5 years, you can sell that property. You know you're going to make at least the 100K that they've given you. They've already given you 100K off from day one, let alone over that 5-year period. A lot of these council houses are in cities where the value is more likely to go up. There's a higher demand. So over that 5 years, it could grow another 100K. So by the time you sell it, now if your children have got involved, you might be able to give them 50K each to go off and buy their own place. So it's about us actually utilizing it. And remember, you can give them that 50K and still keep the property and rent it out. All right. So for me, it's about ownership. Our focus must be on ownership. If we can't be comfortable not owning, we have to get to a position, if we want our situation to change, that we have ownership. Okay. And that may mean that you have to join with other people. You might have to buy a flat instead of a house. You might have to move further out of London. And I know, it can be difficult, but what's most important is ownership. Because I've got clients who have now retired and have been able to use the because they've got ownership, be able to use the income from their properties here in the UK. They've moved back to Ghana, Nigeria. Now, if you're getting 1,500 a month from your property, you get that in London, you're still struggling. You get 1,500 and you're in Africa or in your homeland, even in the Caribbean, wherever it may be, it stretches so much further. And not only that, then you've got your pensions come in, your personal pensions, then eventually your state pensions come in. And it allows you to have a much better retirement. So for me, it's really important that we use property and try and use these things to as additional income. For me, there are 3 main things. One is business, 2 is property, and 3 is stock shares, which is ISAs and pensions. We should be trying to have assets in all 3 of those areas.
Fantastic. That brings me to a second question, another series of questions that have come up here. But I want to stop and say something as well. So Eman is talking. He mentioned at the beginning that we had a one-to-one, and I want to encourage us now at this point to say, it's fine to come to a webinar and a meeting like this, but you need a bespoke solution for your own situation. And I know, and my experience is, we don't like to invest in expertise, and then we think that we can muddle about and try and Google it and YouTube it and whatever. I would highly recommend. I had one meeting with Eman. It changed my whole thinking and paradigm. And he's not said to me, blah, 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 but this is about, let's invest in expertise to get that bespoke solution, and invest in expertise that is on our side, because we go and pay some other communities and they're not necessarily working for us. So I'll stop there and keep that, zip it at that.
No problem.
Yes. So the next, there's a question that relates to an interest-only mortgage. I guess someone's wondering, if at this stage I have an interest-only mortgage, can you speak to that at all, Eman?
Yeah, sure. So if you have an interest-only mortgage, depending on your age, what you should be looking at is can you get them to what are the monthly payments, basically, if you were to switch it to a repayment? What term will they give you, and can you switch it to a repayment? If not, what your other option is to then sell. Then you got to look at what's the equity, what's the value of the house compared to the interest-only mortgage. So your other option then is, if you feel like, if they tell you can't get a mortgage, is to then look at, okay, how much has this property grown by? What's the mortgage on it? If I sell it, how much will I make? And can I buy something with the cash remaining? So for example, you might have bought a house for, let's say it was 100K and you've got an £80,000 interest-only mortgage. Okay, so now it's a case of, if you switch it to repayment, what are those monthly repayments? Will they give you a mortgage based on your current income and so forth? If they would, then great, and you could just pay that off and then know that that's going to be paid off. However, if they say due to your age or due to your income you can't change it to a repayment, then your other option is to then look at selling that property. So that property might now be worth 400. So you could sell it and then say, okay, I've got 320. How do I best use this 320? Do I buy one house and you know live in that rent? Obviously no mortgage, or do I split that and you know buy something and then use the rest to buy an investment property that can bring me income, for example? So now also always remember with these things is that, especially if you have family members or children or whatever, you're not alone. So if you want to refinance your interest only mortgage and you can't do it on your own, speak to your children, your family members, to see if there are anyone that's around you that can join you, because sometimes you can get people to come on and use their income but you still keep 100% ownership. Okay,
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
But it's called joint owner sole proprietor. Okay, mortgages.
Fantastic. We have a question here about stocks and shares investments. Could you speak to that at all, Eman?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's something that for a lot of us, this is the place we should be starting. I think sometimes we are, very quick to go into things that maybe are hot on the internet or whatever, and all of a sudden we're on, cryptocurrencies and forex and all of these things that we know nothing about.
That's slippery.
and end up losing all our money. But for me, setting up a fund, starting with stocks and shares is the first place we should look at. I'm sure everyone talks about the S&P 500, the top 500 US companies. It's very simple to get started on these platforms. There are platforms like Vanguard that allow you to, from £50 a month, you can set up a stocks and shares ISA and start investing. And there's other platforms like Moneybox, Wealthify, Wealthsimple. These are all platforms that allow you to just pay money in on a monthly basis. Some allow you to round up your change. So again, if you just want to start off with, it's all about risk versus reward, right? So I sit down with people and they're like, oh, I don't want to put my money into stocks because I might lose my money. I want us to understand that if you know that inflation is at 10% and you know that we've been getting 0 point whatever, but let's say now you're getting 3 or 4%, you are guaranteeing that your money is going down in value by 6% each year. Whether or not when you look at it, it looks like you've got the same amount, you haven't lost anything. Money is only valuable when you go to spend it. Always remember that. It's not about how much money you have at the time, it's about what that money can actually do. And so we all know that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you could buy a house for 20, 30,000. And now that's not even a deposit. So what we're saying is that it's relative. So when we're talking about stocks and shares, what we're saying is that it's important for us to look at ways that we can start to make our money grow, start to build growth for the future. So I really want you to start off small. Start off using the money that you would have bought coffee in the morning. Use that money. You know what I mean? To start off with. It was going down the drain anyway. Drink coffee at home for free, and then that money that you spend on coffee and Starbucks, invest that into stocks and shares and see how it goes. And I promise you, as you start to get more comfortable, experience is such a great teacher when it comes to stocks and investing. Because as you start to invest, you see, oh, look at the news, something's happening in the world, and then you see that your investment is down. And then over time, you see, oh, it's been a year and I've made X over the last year. And so it's really important for us to get started in it. And it's a way, I always tell people, you spend a lot of money on consumerism. How many people have got, iPhones and got loads of Apple products, but own no Apple shares? How many of us are, we use Google, we use Amazon all day long, ordering on Amazon, don't own anything in these companies. But you can invest in the S&P 500 and get access to all these companies. So it's really important that we do that.
We just want to clarify that term you
Yeah,
mentioned.
it's there. It's in
Joint
the comment.
owner, sole proprietor. That's what
That's
it
it.
is. Yeah.
That's it.
Fantastic. Okie dokie. So we've talked about stocks and shares. There was a question from talking about investing in startups. Lorraine, is that what was that what your question? Okay.
Hi, good evening, Eman. Good evening, Bookie. Yes, it was. I wanted to just get some general feel from you with reference to what your opinion is about looking at having investments from investors when you're starting out in business.
As in raising finance.
Yes.
I think it's very important. A lot of communities do this. I think, especially when we're starting out in business, it can be very difficult to get a business loan from a bank or so forth. But I think for me, and what I think we have to look at is someone mentioned earlier that we don't trust one another. And I think sometimes the reason we don't trust one another is that when we have trusted one another, they haven't delivered. And it hasn't been clear in regards to, how how we're going to return it. So what I would say is if you have a great business idea and you know how you're going to make the money and you know how you're going to pay these people back, then there's nothing wrong in taking money. Do you know what I mean? But you also have to understand that, this money is coming from the community. I think if you can obviously finance yourself, if there are things that you can, if there are grants, if there are things available, I would look at that first, especially when starting, because sometimes what happens is that we have a great idea, but we're really faking it. We're not sure that it's going to work. And I really believe if you're not sure in your product, you haven't ever taken it to market, you're not sure in it, I really feel that we have to be careful when taking people's money, because if it goes wrong, whoever invested now feels like this is why I don't invest with us. This is why I don't. Do you understand? Sometimes you have to understand the accountability of what we're doing, and so if you're not 100% ready, or you really feel like you're just starting out, it's just a concept, you want to try it, see what other funds you can do, and wait to get funds from people once you know that you can actually deliver. Do you know what I mean? But I think a lot of other, and it all depends on how much you need to get started. I think sometimes you're raising money in finance, and all of a sudden you're getting fancy offices and types of things that, actually, can you just work from home in the beginning? Do you need all these high costs? Like, your focus should be on making money, and not only making money, returning money to your investors. Because guess what? The best thing about investing is if you can give money back to your investors, guess what? You get more investors. If people invest and then you say, I'm going to give this money back to you, or you're going to get X amount of equity, and they see that your share price of your company is going up or more people are interested, guess what people do? They say, I'm going to put more in. And that's how we grow. So it's really important that, yes, if you want to, raise money, maybe raise money from friends and family, but it's important for you to know, how am I going to pay these people back? Is it really viable? Am I being realistic? Don't have numbers that don't make sense, or that you're just so confident. Like, make sure the numbers make sense. And then also make sure people are aware of the risk, because I've seen loads of people lose friends, family, and so forth due to the investment. If you take it from the bank and it fails, the bank will be upset, but your life goes on. When it's friends, family that you're really close with, when it goes, all of a sudden you're not getting invited to the Christmas parties. People's kids don't play with each other anymore. It can be a lot. So you have to be careful when when you're taking money in.
Thank you for that. We have a question here about buying a house through a company. Is that something you can cover here, Eman?
Oh yeah.
Top line?
Anybody buying a property that's not their residential property, from now on in, should be buying it through a company. Okay. The gone are the days where you buy an investment property in your own name. The reason is because the government made a change that says that you can no longer claim mortgage interest, as an expense. So what that basically means is, remember, your mortgage payment on an investment property, the mortgage interest is all you pay. They're interest only mortgages on investment properties. So your monthly mortgage payment is the interest. So to keep the numbers simple again, let's say you are renting out a property for £1,000 a month and your mortgage payment is £500 a month. Your mortgage interest is £500 a month, yeah? So that means that you're only actually making £6,000 a year. But if you own it in your own name, when it comes to tax, they will tax you on £12,000. So they will tax you as if you earned £12,000, but you know that £500 is your mortgage interest. So you're going to pay 20% tax on, and remember, that's added to whatever income you have. So if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you'll pay 40% tax. So again,
Wait, is it frozen?
which means you're getting less than £2,000. You're making less than £2,000.
You missed that because you froze.
Yeah,
Froze for a
please
bit.
go back 10 seconds.
Where did it stop? Where did it stop?
So the 500, what the bank, wait, sorry. So you said if you buy a property for 1,000 and then the mortgage is 500, what you're making, how much you get taxed?
Yeah, so £1,000. So the mortgage, let's say the mortgage interest is £500. So your monthly mortgage payment is £500. So, but the government will tax you as if you made £1,000, not based on the £500. Yeah. So because they don't discount, they don't allow you to take off the mortgage payment as an expense. So what that basically means is that if you're a basic rate taxpayer, you'll pay 20% tax on it. So you'd pay basically £200 a month of it would be tax. But if you're a higher rate taxpayer and you pay 40% tax, that means that 40% of it, so £400 would be of the £1,000 would be tax. £500 is your mortgage interest, which means all you make is £100 a month. So, but however, if you owned it for a company, you could claim the mortgage interest as an expense. So you'd only pay tax on the £500 or the £6,000 a year. So everyone should be buying, if you're buying an investment property, you should buy it within a limited company. Also, a limited company is great because, again, if you've got children in the future, your children can become directors of that company, and it's a way for you to then leave assets to your children through your company.
There's a question that I believe will be quick. Somebody asking about when they something about renting out and do they need to change their mortgage if they want to rent out?
Yes. So if you've got a residential mortgage and you want to rent out that property, what you can do is get consent to let. Mm-hmm. So what that basically means is you go to your mortgage provider and say, can I get permission? I no longer live in this property, or this property is no longer suitable for me. Maybe it's too small. Maybe it's too far away from work, or because you've got a new job, or maybe your kids are going to a different school, so you need to move closer to that school. You need to give them a reason why. But once you've given them a reason, you can get consent to let, which basically means is that you can keep your residential mortgage and you can rent it out until the fixed term is finished. Okay. So if you're wise, this is not me telling you to do nothing or not to do anything, but you just have to listen to what I said. Just remember, listen to what I said. So they will allow you until your fixed period ends to remain on a residential mortgage. Now, a residential mortgage is lower interest rate than a buy-to-let mortgage. So if you've got 1 year left on your residential mortgage or 6 months left on your residential mortgage, you may want to fix for a longer period of time, for example, 5 years, just example. And then after 6 months, you can go to them and say, I want to get consent to let. And then for 4.5 years, you can rent it out on a residential mortgage, which is a better interest rate than a buy-to-let mortgage. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm Nigerian. We say use your number 6. That was just your number 6. That's not me. Those are the rules. Okay. So make it work for you, you know? So if you're going to do it, make it work for you. So you have until the end of your fixed period. So if you've got a long fixed period, you can have a longer time on a residential mortgage than a buy-to-let.
Fantastic. Okay, so I have one of my brothers here, Wale. He apparently needs to ask his question directly, concisely, but directly, because he feels it might benefit everyone else. So I'll ask Wale to come off mute and ask your question quickly, please.
Thank you, Buki. And I hope, apart from Eman, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only man here. But thanks a lot, Eman. I think my questions was around trust and pension. But you talked about pension. So like you rightly said, you know, it's good to have pension, etc. I've had it for quite a while, and I'm now thinking. And again, when I reviewed it in January, you know, inflation, COVID, etc., it's gone down about 12%. Yeah. Now, what I want to ask you is if any of your clients are doing this, because I've got to hear about this. So pulling half of my pension out. Now I do know I'm going to pay penalty. Now I do have a plan for the money. Now, if I pull, say, 100K and I pull 50K out, and I have a good plan of getting 2, 3, 4, 2, 3 properties in the next 5 years, that is much better than what I'm getting. Because right now, I've lost quite a number of, amounts of money because it hasn't grown as well as it should be, tracking it. And then the other question was on trust, moving to trust and to be able to secure, so you have a residential and you're securing the profit on that to be able to use into other business ventures. However, I'm very skeptical because, again, that's a way of hiding money. But I want to know if the HMRC would still be able to look at it. And I think I remembered something around TSC or TSA or TSR. I can't really remember that much about that. But
yeah, how
do I set up that trust? Or is it a good thing that I'm protecting my property is worth 500 and the mortgage is 250? I can protect that 250 and then use it again, like setting up a limited company, etc. So I'm talking about more private trust, whereby I guess the HMRC cannot see.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to, so let's pinpoint one question first. The question one, you might have to, if it's and then the trust question, you might have to, because time is, we have to move.
So question one was about taking money out of your pension. So like you said, if you take 100K out of your pension, likely you're going to pay around 45% tax on it. So you're going to lose almost 50% in tax. So that's one thing to think about. So you're already 50 grand down. So 50% down already. Then yes, you could buy properties and so forth. But I would say it's very high risk, because what you have to think about is that, yes, your pension is down 12% right now. Most things are down at the moment because of the way the economy is. But when the economy picks back up, it will go back up even further. So I don't think at any given time anything can be done. Even property, you can buy a property. Someone can be in a property right now and it could be down 25%, but you still got use of your house, so you're still paying your mortgage. So that goes up and down all the time. So I would say for most of my clients, that doesn't make sense. Now, some of my clients, they have done that in regards to take money out. They haven't taken it all out at once, as like what you said. They've done over different tax years, so they keep more of their money and they're not giving it all to the tax man. But I would say it's a very high risk strategy to do that. In regards to the trust side of things, I think a lot of people have this thing about putting properties in trust. It's more of an American thing than over here. Yes, you can put properties in trust here in the UK, but remember, anything you put into trust, you lose control of. So the whole point of putting into trust is to say, I no longer own this. This is owned by the trustees. There are different types of trusts where you can put stuff in trust and get benefit from it, as in maybe potentially benefit from the income. But in most cases, unless you're really, really wealthy, because there are different tax implications putting stuff in trust, it's probably not the best solution. But I have an estate planner that I work with that can talk to you about wills and trusts and all of that type of stuff, if you want to have that conversation to find out what's best for you.
Thank you. So a quick question around getting started on stocks and shares. What's the best, what would be your take on that, Eman?
Yeah, so I think we mentioned it before, just getting started, probably look at the Vanguards, the Hargreaves Lansdowne or Money Box, and just put in small amounts on a regular basis. I think that's the best way to do it, and then you can build from there.
Fantastic. Okay. Setting up a limited company, how do you do that? Because I if I'm right, a limited company for property, it's not like I do like my contracting limited company. Are there differences?
It depends. If you're talking about limited company, so when you're buying property, it's just the limited company that buys property can only buy property. It can't do anything else. So if you have a limited company already, like for your business, you can't then say, I'm going to buy property for you. It has to be.
I thought that was the thing.
It can only buy property. There's this, when you set up a limited company, there's different codes that you have to use. There's a specific one for like residents buying investment property that you have to put on it to show that it's a company to buy property, and that's all that company can do is buy property. You can do on the government website for free. You can go on there and set it up. I prefer company. I use Company Wizard. It's very, very simple to use. And they sort out all your memorandums and all of that type of stuff. But and it's like £16. It's not anything crazy. But if you want to do it, you can go on the Gov website and set up your company by yourself.
Fantastic. So I think we've covered most of it. D Jenny, I think you asked a question. Have I covered your question? Because I saw it.
Yes, you have. I'm the one that asked about buying a property through for a company.
Fantastic, because I know I made a mental note of it. So I was.
If I could just please ask one more question, is there any risk of buying a property for a company? Like what should we look out for? Because I think, I don't know if maybe this was in the past, but I remember someone saying about paying more tax but I don't know anything, I must say.
No, I wouldn't say this. I wouldn't say there's any more risk. You'll pay tax if you buy it in your own name. It's still an income. You'll pay tax. If you buy in a company, the company's even better because you could take it out as dividends rather than take it out as income. So dividends is low. You pay a lower tax on dividends. Also, you can have different shareholders of that company and split the income, so it's not all on one person's name. So, for example, if you've got a partner that's not working and you're working, they could also share that income, and then it could be coming through tax-free. So there's different ways to do it. So companies very efficient. The only risk when you buy a property through a company and when you buy property in general is that it either goes down in value or you can't keep up with the payments because your tenants have left and you can't afford the payments and it gets repossessed. That's the same as
everything. No problem. Thank you so much.
So you're asking about contacting Eman. We're going to drop his preferred contact into the chat in a minute. I had a question around high risk, high reward. What would you say is a high risk investment at this point? And then I had a question around my son's inherited £10,000. Where should I put it? I can give you my bank details. Please drop it in there.
I think that high risk, high reward, I get what you're saying, but it can also sometimes it needs to be calculated risk. It definitely needs to be calculated risk. There's sometimes we're just taking exactly like we say, oh, high risk, high reward. So we're just throwing money down the drain. There was never really any chance for you really to make anything. So it's about us saying that, okay, yes, okay, if I'm sometimes you're taking risks that you can't afford to take. Yeah. So like you said, look at the £10,000 example. If I've got £1 million, I can take really high risk with £10,000 because I know I've got more money. If I've only got £10,000, I can't take the same risk as somebody else. Do you understand? Because if I lose it, I'm back at zero. So it's not just about your appetite for risk, it's also about your capacity for loss. Can you actually afford to lose? How much can you actually afford to lose? And so that should also govern how much risk you take. And also your experience. That, when a lot of people were doing Bitcoin, I mean, a lot of these people are struggling with you struggle to use your iPhone and you thought that Bitcoin was the answer for you. Do you know what I mean? It didn't make sense. You're struggling with PowerPoint and Word, and you thought crypto was your answer. It didn't make sense. It wasn't the right move for you. That wasn't where you were supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? So really and truly, this is where it's like your high risk, high reward, but also it has to make sense. You have to have the experience, you have to have the knowledge, and you have to have the capacity to actually, if it does go wrong, what effect it's going to have on you.
So DN, what's your question about university again? Please remind me. I saw it. Should parents pay for university, or should children take out the loan because university repayments are doubling this year?
I think first of all, what we have to think about is should we be forcing our kids to university? That's with the cost of university. The first question you have to ask yourself: should your child be going to university? Because I know loads of people that have gone to university and their boss are people that did apprenticeships. Like we got to start being wise, yeah. Because think about an apprenticeship. If you start an apprenticeship at 16, or like, okay, let's 16 or 18, and somebody's gone to uni, apprenticeship. Not only do you learn on the job, you get the experience. There are also work qualifications that you can take. Some of these qualifications are degree equivalent. So, and you end up getting all of that with no debt. Zero debt. You're going to university and you're studying things. When you're coming out and you're applying for McDonald's and you're applying for jobs you're applying for jobs you could have applied for before you went to uni. So it's really important that you understand, do I actually need the degree first? That's the first one, because as especially as Africans, we have been taught that, education, and, go and get those days are over. The world, we've got Chat GPT. Everybody's going to get qualifications now. Your computer can write your essay. It's you know what I mean? It's a different world now. What's most important is, can you do the job? So that's the first thing. Then if you are going to go to university, for me personally, I would rather than give my child the money to pay for the degree, I would buy the house when my child is at university and make that their first investment property and let them be in that house and then rent the other rooms, and now they can rent that out, and now they've got an income. So for me, I would rather do that than give them the money when they get the money from the government. If they come out and don't find a job or they don't have to pay it. If they get to 50 whatever or 60 and it's not paid, the money is thrown away. For me, if you've got that lump sum of rather than give it to an education system where you get it for free, buy the house, buy the uni house that your child is going to be at. Buy that house, get 2 3 bedrooms, rent that out, and let them become a landlord and understand the experience of building wealth from a young age. That's what I would do with it, rather than give them that money. So I think we have to be wise.
Fantastic. Our time is far spent. We are at the hour. Can we go for 5 more minutes? Otherwise, yeah. So we've dropped Eman's contact in there because I know some of you want to contact him straight away. Everyone, that's that. I also would like to drop our Vibrant Midlife contacts in there.
Oh yeah, we got the £10,000 question, so we didn't answer it.
What's the £10,000?
The one you said you wanted to put in your bank account. That's why you thought that was the answer. Is that why?
How about for the other child? Oh, the £10,000. Okay, so where does the end put her £10,000?
Yeah, I think it depends on, again, what you want to do.
Yeah.
So if you want it to go to your child in the future, you can look at a junior ISA, and put in a junior ISA, and invest it until they're 18, and then they'll have control of it. If you want to keep control of it, everyone has an ISA allowance of £20,000 a year. So you could open up an ISA specifically and know that this ISA that I've opened up is actually for your child. Put it in there and let it invest over that time. Or it depends if it's a case of, if you want to buy, again, like I said, you might want to buy a property. So you might use it to start off, and then keep adding £100, £50 a month, whatever it is, to it, to build up until your child is older, and then you can help them, purchase a property, or if they want to go around the world or whatever, it could be used for these types of things. And that's another thing I want to also add, is that sometimes we look down on people that go and travel. I promise you that traveling and experience different cultures, you find it helps a lot of people when they come back into the workplace, that they have stories, they understand different cultures, they understand being around different people, and it can definitely help you progress up the corporate ladder a lot quicker, because you've been in other countries and experienced other cultures. And it also helps young people find what they really want in life. And sometimes also being around people, maybe being in areas where there's a lot of poverty, and helping out helps young people appreciate what they have as well. So sometimes I feel like we look down on, my child's gone on backpacking, or gone around the world, or gone on a tour and visit. But that travel at a young age can really open their eyes and can really help them, establish themselves, work out what they want to do, and really build, and can be it could be a very important investment in themselves. So please, if your child says they want to travel, don't look down on them. It can actually be a great investment in their futures.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to say thank you, Eman. You shared a lot of gems. I know for a fact that as I said, my encounter with you, and we still have more work to do, I know, but at least that first initial thing was like light bulb. I also want to say to the women on here and the men, everything that we've said revolves around the principal wealth, which is our health and well-being. So connect with us in Vibrant Midlife, because that's what I'm about. That's what I'm about. So that we have the vitality, we have the energy, we have the corpus mentum, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, to do everything that we need to do. So we've dropped our details in there. I want to say thank you for your participation. Thank you for your, insightful questions. Thank you, Eman, for sharing your gems. Connect with Eman on Instagram. You will laugh for days. I laugh when I see him come. He comes up, Uncle Eman. He hasn't even done that in a while. Uncle Eman is back. He comes and he's sharing. And also ask your kids to connect to his page as well, because they will learn a lot as well. Not just from him, but also a lot of the people in his genre and his age bracket that are doing good stuff. Bricks with Tips. Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, all of those kind of young people that are doing great things. What's your handle, Eman? Okay, can I remember it? Pop it in there.
I'll type it in there. Oh, it's fine.
Thank you. You've been awesome. Our time is fast spent. Webinar is over. Thank you. And yeah, please just give us some feedback. Let us know how you found this, what it was like for you. And may we live long and may we prosper.
Thank you, Bouquet. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sister Bouquet.
Thank you, Bouquet. It was lovely.
Thank
Really
you.
lovely.
Bouquet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Really good, guys.
I'm grateful.
Thank you. Bye.
Question.